Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Amy's English Cafe. This is the place where English feels simple and enjoyable. I am your host, Amy.
And I am Chris. It is so great to be here with you all again today. Amy, you look very happy today. You are in a really good mood.
I am in a very good mood. I had such a nice weekend. I slept a lot, I ate good food, and so I am still feeling very relaxed today. What about you, Chris? How are you feeling?
Same here, Amy. I feel very good. I had a really nice weekend too. And that is actually perfect because today we are talking all about weekends.
Exactly. Weekends. It is a great topic for practicing everyday English because everyone in the world has a weekend. We all have days when we do not work or go to school.
Right. Everyone can talk about their weekend. It is the best way to start a conversation with a new friend, a coworker, or a classmate. So, Amy, let us start with you today. How was your weekend overall? Was it good? Was it bad?
I would say it was a mix of things. My Saturday was quite active. I moved around a lot, but my Sunday was very slow and very peaceful. I just rested.
That sounds like the perfect combination. A little bit of moving and a little bit of resting.
Yes, it was very nice. I really enjoyed it.
So let's talk about the first day. What did you get up to on Saturday?
Well, in the morning, I woke up early, drank my tea, and went shopping. I really needed a new pair of shoes for work. My old ones were falling apart.
Nice. Did you go to the big shopping mall in the city center?
Yes, I did. But honestly, Chris, it was completely hectic.
Oh, hold on. Let's pause right there. Hectic. That is a fantastic word for our listeners. What does hectic mean?
Great question. When I say the mall was hectic, I mean it was extremely busy, full of people, very fast, and maybe a little bit stressful. People were walking everywhere, babies were crying, and there were long lines at all the stores. It was not relaxing at all.
Ah, I understand. Hectic. Weekends at the mall are almost always hectic. So, in the middle of all that crazy energy, did you actually find a pair of shoes that you liked?
I did, but I had to make a compromise.
Another great word. Let's react to that one too. Compromise. Can you explain that to our listeners?
Of course, a compromise is when you want one thing, but you accept something a little bit different so that you can reach an agreement or a solution. In my case, I really wanted a pair of bright red, stylish high heels. I thought they would look so beautiful, but my job requires me to stand on my feet for 8 hours a day.
Oh, wearing high heels for 8 hours sounds painful.
Exactly. So I made a compromise. I gave up the idea of the beautiful red heels, and I picked a pair of simple, flat black shoes instead. They're not very exciting, but they're very comfortable. And for work, comfort is the most important thing.
Comfort over style. That is always a smart choice for work shoes. So, you survived the hectic mall and found a good compromise. Did you do anything fun after shopping?
Yes, I needed to escape the crowds. I stopped at a small, quiet cafe just outside the mall and had lunch. I ordered a hot cheese and tomato sandwich and a large glass of sparkling water.
Simple and classic. A cheese and tomato sandwich sounds delicious, especially after a long morning of walking.
It really was. It was exactly what I needed. But enough about my morning. What about you, Chris? How did your Saturday start? Did you go shopping too?
No, I went in a completely different direction. I stayed far away from the shops. Instead, I woke up early, put on my sports clothes, and went to the park.
Oh, nice. Nature is so much better than a crowded mall. Was the weather good?
It was absolutely perfect. It was bright and sunny, but the air was still fresh. It wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold. It was truly invigorating.
Ooh, invigorating. Listeners, write that down. Chris, what does invigorating mean?
Invigorating, it means something that makes you feel very fresh, healthy, and full of energy. When you step outside into cool, clean morning air and you take a deep breath, it wakes up your whole body. That feeling is invigorating.
I love that word. It sounds exactly what it means. So, did you just sit on a bench and enjoy this invigorating weather, or did you do something active?
I actually went for a run. I'm trying to build a better morning routine. I want to be healthier this year.
Impressive. I always say I'm going to start running, but I never do. How long did you run for?
I ran for about half an hour. I ran all the way around the big lake in the park, past the duck pond, and up a very steep hill. I was trying to improve my endurance.
Let's stop and look at that word, endurance. What is endurance?
Endurance is the ability to keep doing something difficult, painful, or tiring for a long time without stopping. When you first start running, your endurance is low. You get tired in 2 minutes. But if you practice, your endurance grows and you can run for 30 minutes.
That makes sense. So after 30 minutes and a big hill, were you feeling great?
No, I was completely exhausted. My legs felt like heavy blocks of wood and I could barely breathe.
That is exactly why I don't run. I think my endurance is terrible. I would probably last maybe 5 minutes before I had to sit down.
You'd be surprised, Amy. It gets easier with practice. The first week is terrible, but the second week is a little better.
Maybe I'll try it someday. Maybe. But probably not tomorrow. So what happened after your exhausting run?
I slowly walked home, took a very long, very hot shower to relax my muscles, and then I went into the kitchen to make a massive breakfast.
That sounds like the perfect reward for all your hard work.
It was. I cooked 3 eggs, made 2 huge pieces of toast with butter, and brewed a very strong pot of black coffee.
Of course, coffee. That's your absolute favorite thing in the world.
Absolutely. A weekend without coffee is not a weekend at all.
So after a big breakfast, what did you do for the rest of Saturday afternoon?
Well, because I had already exercised, I felt like I deserved to just be lazy, so I sat on my sofa and played a video game for a few hours.
Oh, fun. I don't play many video games. What kind of game was it?
It was a racing game. You drive these incredibly fast sports cars around different tracks in cities around the world. It's very fast-paced and requires a lot of focus.
Are you good at it?
Usually, yes. I've been playing it for a few weeks, so I know all the turns and the tracks. But something very funny happened this time.
Tell me. I love a funny story.
Okay, so picture this. I was in the final race of a big tournament. I was in first place. I was driving perfectly. The finish line was right in front of me. I was literally 3 seconds away from winning the gold trophy. And then my cat, Barnaby, jumped on my lap.
Oh no!
Yes, and he didn't just jump on my lap. He decided to stretch his paws out and he stepped directly on my video game controller.
He pressed the buttons, your car turned sharply to the left, and you crashed straight into a digital wall. That is hilarious. Barnaby decided to sabotage your race.
Sabotage. That's the perfect word. Let's explain it to our viewers.
Yes, to sabotage something means to secretly ruin or destroy a plan, an event, or a machine on purpose. Usually we use it for people, like the spy sabotaged the enemy's mission, but in this case, Barnaby the cat sabotaged Chris's video game.
He definitely did. He sabotaged my victory. And the funniest part is, I couldn't even be mad at him. I looked down and he was purring so loudly, looking up at me like he was very proud of what he had just done.
Pets are so unpredictable.
Unpredictable, meaning you can never guess what they're going to do next. Yes, exactly. They always choose the worst possible timing to want attention.
They really do, but it makes for a great story.
By the way, everyone watching at home, if you're enjoying this conversation and learning some new vocabulary like hectic, invigorating, and sabotage, please don't forget to click the like button.
Yes, and subscribe to the channel and share this video with a friend who's also learning English. It really helps our channel grow so we can keep making free lessons for you.
Okay, Amy, back to you. We know you went shopping in the morning and had lunch. What did you do on Saturday evening? Did you go out to a party?
Oh, definitely not. Walking around that hectic mall took all my energy. In the evening, I stayed home because I was very tired. I just wanted to wear my pajamas and do nothing.
That is totally understandable. Did you watch something on TV?
Yes, I made a cup of chamomile tea and started a brand new mystery television series, and I couldn't stop watching it.
Uh-oh. I know that feeling. How many episodes did you watch?
3 in a row. Each episode was an hour long, so I was sitting there for 3 hours.
Classic. The old, just one more episode lie we tell ourselves. It never works. You always end up watching 3. What was the show about?
It is a detective show set in a snowy, isolated town in the mountains. The local police chief has to solve a very strange crime, but everyone in the town is acting suspiciously. It was so well written. Every single episode ended on a massive cliffhanger.
Ooh, cliffhanger. That is an amazing English word, especially for talking about movies and books. What is a cliffhanger, Amy?
Imagine someone is hanging by their fingers off the edge of a tall cliff. They might fall or they might be saved. You don't know what will happen. In television, a cliffhanger is an ending to an episode that is very exciting and leaves a big question unanswered. It forces you to watch the next episode because you need to know what happens next.
Exactly. The writer puts a cliffhanger at the end so that you can't turn off the TV, and it sounds like it worked on you. You completely decided to binge watch the show.
Binge watch. That is a very modern vocabulary word. If you binge something, it means you do too much of it in a short amount of time. So to binge watch means to watch many episodes of a TV show back to back without stopping.
It is a very common weekend activity these days. You sit down at 8 p.m. and suddenly it's midnight and you're exhausted the next morning.
Exactly. I finally forced myself to turn off the TV at midnight so I could get some sleep, because I knew Sunday was going to be a very busy day for me.
Right. Let's talk about Sunday. You mentioned earlier that your Sunday was slow and peaceful, but you just said it was busy. Which was it?
Well, the morning and afternoon were very family-focused, which is always busy, but the evening was peaceful. Let me explain.
Please do. What did you do with your family?
I went out in the morning with my parents and my sister. We walked around a local farmer's market. And then later at 1 p.m., we all drove to my grandmother's house for a big Sunday lunch.
That sounds amazing. Family meals are the best. Does your grandmother cook?
She does, and she's a wonderful cook. She made a massive roast chicken with potatoes, carrots, and gravy. It was delicious.
I'm getting hungry just listening to you. Were there a lot of people at the house?
Yes, everyone was there. My parents, my sister, my aunt, my uncle, and my 3 little cousins. The house was extremely boisterous.
Let's pause. Boisterous. That's an advanced word. What does it mean?
Boisterous is an adjective we use to describe a person, an event, or a place that is noisy, energetic, and cheerful. It's a happy kind of loud. So a library is not boisterous, but a family party with little kids running around and adults laughing loudly, that is very boisterous.
Big families are never quiet, that's for sure.
Exactly. Lots of talking, laughing, and noise. We had a full, heavy meal. And of course, after the chicken, it was time for dessert.
Let me guess. Your grandmother baked something sweet.
Yes, she baked a huge chocolate cake. It looked perfect, but as we were cutting it, something very funny and a little gross happened.
Oh no. Now I am very curious. Tell me.
So, my Uncle Bob was sitting at the table, talking very loudly. He took a big bite of his slice of chocolate cake. Suddenly, his nose twitched. He felt a sneeze coming. He tried to grab a napkin, but he wasn't fast enough. He sneezed right as he was chewing.
No way. What happened?
A piece of chocolate cake shot out of his mouth and became a flying projectile.
Projectile. Let's explain that one. A projectile is an object that is thrown or fired into the air with force, like a bullet from a gun or an arrow from a bow. But in this case, the projectile was a piece of cake from Uncle Bob's mouth.
Exactly. The chocolate cake projectile flew across the entire dining table, flew over the gravy boat, and landed perfectly on top of my cousin David's head.
It just sat there in his hair? That is unbelievable. The whole table must have been shocked. What did David do? Was he angry?
The best part, he wasn't angry at all. The room went completely silent for 1 second. Then David reached up, took the piece of cake out of his hair, laughed, and said, "Well, bonus dessert for me."
That is a fantastic attitude. He turned a weird situation into a joke.
Yes, everyone burst out laughing. It was the highlight of the afternoon. After lunch, when our stomachs were completely full of chicken and cake, we all went for a short walk outside around my grandmother's neighborhood to help digest the food. That is when my Sunday became relaxing. So that was my crazy, boisterous family Sunday. What about you, Chris? Did your cat sabotage anything else?
No, thankfully, Barnaby behaved himself on Sunday. My Sunday was much, much quieter than yours. I didn't see anyone, I stayed home, sat in my favorite chair, read a book, and just took it easy.
Sometimes that is exactly what you need. After a busy week, a quiet Sunday is perfect. What were you reading?
It was a nonfiction book about history, very peaceful. The whole apartment was completely silent and tranquil.
Tranquil. That is a beautiful word. Let's react to that for our listeners.
Tranquil means free from disturbance. It means calm, peaceful, and quiet. Imagine a smooth lake early in the morning with no wind. That is tranquil. And that was my living room on Sunday afternoon.
That sounds lovely. Did you just read all day?
I read for a few hours, but around 5 p.m. I put the book down and spent some time planning my week ahead. I opened my laptop, checked my work schedule, and made a list of groceries I needed to buy.
That's a really great habit. You're very proactive.
Proactive. That's a great business and life vocabulary word. Amy, how would you define proactive?
If you're proactive, it means you take action to control a situation before problems happen, rather than just reacting after problems happen. By planning your week on Sunday, you're being proactive. You're stopping Monday morning from being stressful.
Exactly. It helps me feel in control. If I know what meetings I have on Tuesday and I know what I'm cooking for dinner on Wednesday, my brain can relax. Even making a very simple 5-minute plan makes a big difference for my mental health.
I really should start doing that. I'm definitely more reactive. I wait for the week to happen to me, and then I run around stressed out.
Try it next Sunday. Just take a piece of paper and write down your top 3 goals for the week. It works wonders.
I will. So after you finished being a proactive adult and planning your life, how did you end your weekend?
I ordered a pizza, turned on the TV, and watched a live football match. My favorite team was playing. It was a very close game, but they scored a goal in the final 10 minutes and won the match. So I went to sleep very happy.
That sounds like the perfect way to finish the weekend.
Before we get to our final English tips, Amy, it's time for the cafe mailbag. This is the part of the show where we answer a question from one of our amazing viewers.
I love this segment. Who is our question from today?
Today's email is from Carlos. Carlos watches us from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Hello, Carlos.
Hi, Carlos. Thank you for watching. What is his question?
Carlos writes, "Hi, Amy and Chris. I love the show. My question is, when I try to speak English, I always translate the words from Portuguese to English in my head first. This makes me speak very slowly. How can I stop translating and start thinking in English?"
Oh, Carlos, that is such a fantastic question. Almost every single language learner struggles with this. Translating in your head is completely normal when you're a beginner, but as you become an intermediate learner, it acts like a wall that stops your fluency.
Exactly. When you translate, your brain is doing double the work. It has to think of the Portuguese word, find the English dictionary in your brain, match the words, fix the grammar, and then move your mouth. No wonder it feels slow.
So how do we fix it? My best advice for Carlos is to start small. Don't try to think in complex English sentences immediately. Start by naming objects around you in English. When you look at a table, don't think mesa and then translate to table. Just look at it and force your brain to say table.
That's a great advice. Another tip is to learn phrases, not individual words. If you learn the phrase, "How is it going?" you know it means, "Hello, how are you?" But if you translate it word by word into your native language, it usually makes no sense. By memorizing full chunks of language, your brain doesn't need to translate. You just pull the whole phrase out of your memory.
Yes, chunks of language are the secret to fluency. Also, try narrating your daily life in your head in English. While you're cooking breakfast, think to yourself in English, "I'm opening the fridge, I'm taking out the eggs, I'm cooking." It feels silly at first, but it forces your brain to operate in English without the pressure of speaking to a real person.
Great tips. Carlos, we hope that helps you on your English journey. Keep practicing and be patient with yourself. Training your brain takes time.
All right, everyone, that's all the time we have for today. We really hope you enjoyed spending this time with us.
We would love to hear from you. We shared our weekend stories. Now it's your turn. What did you do this weekend? Was it hectic? Was it tranquil? Did you binge watch a TV show?
Write a short paragraph about your weekend in the comments down below. We read all of them, and it's a wonderful way for you to practice your writing skills today.
And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button to join Amy's English Cafe. We post new conversation videos every single week to help you improve your listening and vocabulary.
Thank you